Have you guys ever heard the saying, you can't teach an old new tricks? Now, notice how I didn't say the word dog, because Pat Riley doesn't have that dog in him. Now I'm playing. Shout out my boy Reed Collins, 28 on Twitter. That's an absolute bar that he said in the Basement Sports Network Twitter Spaces yesterday, where all the Heat fans were coping after losing out on Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, it's been about 24 hours since then. Of course, most Heat fans are angry. A lot of them are disappointed, like myself. A lot of fans are pissed at the front office. They're very mad at Pat Riley. Now, I find it hard to do that right now, although it's understandably so. I mean, you've had like 4 stars with Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal want to join your team, and you've got none of them. Now, it's hard to, just because a star wants to be here, it's hard to get them. You got 29 other teams that's trying to get them, but I'm not here to play the blame game today, especially considering the package that Portland got for Damian Lillard. I find it hard to believe that Pat would not have been willing to top that. So I think this was just Joe Cronin being petty. But anyways, we didn't get Dame, but we move. Of course, Jrue Holiday was sent to the Portland Trail Blazers, and being that he's 33 years old, they are looking to flip him. There was some rumors a 4th team may be added to the deal so they can move him instantly. That did not happen because officially this morning, the Trail Blazers announced that they acquired Jrue Holiday, and Barry Jackson already put out a report saying that Holiday would be interested in joining the Miami Heat, both LA teams, Boston, Chicago, and Philadelphia. Now, this is important because Jrue Holiday does have a player option after this season for $37 million. So that's a ton of money. But because he's a little bit older, he likely will opt out and re-sign his last final longer deal, maybe like a final 4-year deal that'll put him to like 37 years old, assuming he doesn't retire, because that is something that I think he said just quite recently. But that's why the Portland would obviously have to trade him to a team that he wants to go to. Otherwise, he would just walk when the season's over, and no team is going to give up assets for a guy that could just, a 33-year-old guy that could just walk in a year. And I do want to note too, Barry basically pointed out the cap implications of trading for Jrue Holiday, and someone replied in the comments saying, "Why are you worried about Mickey Arison's pockets?" And then we got my favorite, which is a sassy Barry response saying, "Don't you understand? I'm not worried." And he's basically just explaining why it would hurt the Heat. And I love sassy Barry. Barry Jackson's my king, by the way. All Heat fans should be following him on Twitter. But yeah, this does have some implications for the Heat, because now with all these new tax laws in the CBA and the second apron and the repeater tax, there's actual tangible like punishments for going over that could actually hard cap your team, limit your ability to make certain trades. So I don't think this is just about Mickey being cheap. I actually think that if you do go into that tax, there's things that can hurt the Heat. So that is something to keep in mind when we talk about a trade package for Jrue Holiday. So a couple things to note though, because I did make a trade package we're going to get into. Would Miami and Joe Cronin even engage on a deal at this point? To be honest, I don't think so. I mean, like I said, y'all saw the package that Portland got for Dame. If he wasn't willing to talk to Miami for them to outbid that, I don't know why he would talk to Miami to get Jrue. And also, we already know he doesn't like our assets. So would he not like our assets for Dame, but he'd like him for Jrue? Who really knows at this point? But I do got a trade package here that I do want to get into, as I have to pull it up still. So now I use the Fanspo trade machine, which wasn't updated with the rosters yet. So what I did is I kind of did the 3-team deal myself, and then just added in Miami as a 4th team and flipped Jrue Holiday over to us. So this is the deal that I have. The one thing that I want to note right away is I immediately found it difficult to make the money work. Jrue Holiday makes $37 million. Kyle Lowry only makes 29.6. So about 30. So I still had about $6 million I need to make up, because the Heat are so close to the cap. They essentially have to send out equal money. So the deal I did is I did the Miami Heat get Jrue Holiday. We send over Kyle Lowry's expiring contract to the Portland Trail Blazers, who Jrue or Kyle Lowry would be good mentors to Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe and those young guards, even if they were there for a year. So I do think Kyle Lowry helps that too, in addition to just being an expiring contract. And I also sent over Jaime Jaquez Jr., who was reportedly very high on the Blazers draft boards. So we do know that they're interested in Jaime Jaquez. And then I had to send over Haywood Highsmith to make the money work, and 2 first-round picks. So just to recap, Miami gets Jrue Holiday, Portland gets Kyle Lowry, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Haywood Highsmith, and 2 first-round picks. A lot of Heat fans may not like this. Now, they'll like the Kyle Lowry part because the comments are very mean to him, which might be my fault. I haven't been the nicest to Kyle Lowry over the last 3 years either. But then we do send Jaime Jaquez, who people aren't going to like because they like him. I do a lot also, but I do understand you have to give to get. And let's not act like Jrue Holiday is some scrub. Now, he's not Damian Lillard, and I acknowledge this would be an anticlimactic trade if this is what we end up doing this offseason, but he's still a very, very great player, and I think he'd fit awesome in this Heat system. Unfortunately, I did have to give up Haywood Highsmith to make the money work. That's because even with Jaquez and Lowry, we were still about $2 to $3 million short. And because the Heat have so many players they recently signed, like Orlando Robinson, Kevin Love, Thomas Bryant, those guys could not be traded for another few months. So if this deal was to get done before the season starts, Haywood Highsmith was really the only guy that I could include in that package. Now, I'm personally not a huge fan of Haywood Highsmith. I'm not. But a lot of Heat fans are. They like his switchability and stuff. I don't necessarily see it yet, but of course the Heat are very high on him, so I'll give him a chance as well. And then I would be willing to throw in the 2 first-round picks because otherwise you're wasting Jimmy's window. Now that Dame is gone, he's gone to Milwaukee, so Giannis is not coming here. Donovan Mitchell's not available for another 2 years. I don't think that there's anything else Miami could do unless Joel Embiid. And don't just say James Harden. I don't want his bum ass. I heard that going around Twitter. I don't think there's any other moves that he could do. I think Jrue Holiday is the best possible player that is out there now and that will be out there for the next couple years. So I do what it takes to get this done, to give Jimmy Butler the best possible team to win in this window. So this is kind of what I have. There's really no other rendition of this that the Heat could do because of their lack of assets, unless they threw Nikola Jovic, which I wouldn't give up Jovic and Jaime for Jrue Holiday. I would not do that. But truthfully, I understand Joe Cronin may be petty, but I don't think he'd be able to find a better offer for Jrue Holiday than this, particularly because Jrue Holiday makes a ton of money, so it's very difficult for teams to match that salary because most teams that have guys making $30 million are great players they don't want to trade. For example, if the Lakers wanted Jrue Holiday, they'd have to trade Anthony Davis or LeBron. They wouldn't do that. But in the Heat's case, they got Kyle Lowry's bum ass making $30 million, so they could easily make the deal work. Plus, we'd be giving up a young asset and 2 first-round picks, and I'm just not sure that's exactly something that the Heat would be willing to do. So if they don't get this done, where did the Heat go from there? I'm sure I have a full video about this within the next week or two, but it's tough. There's not much else out there. Really, the only true point guard on the roster is Kyle Lowry. The best remaining free agents is Goran Dragic, who I love, and I want back on this team one way or another. But then you also got Cam Payne, I guess, who's solid. It looks like the Bucks are interested in him as well. You also got Ish Smith, who I do like, but he's also 35 years old. So there's not much else out there. That's the point. So I do hope that the Heat can get in on here on Jrue Holiday because I like him a lot. Now, the Heat did waive Jamari Bouye and Caleb Daniels yesterday, and then they got Check Diallo and RJ Hampton, who's on a 2-way. It's kind of weird. They signed someone named John Elmore, then waived him right away to get RJ Hampton. I don't know how all that works, but essentially they just got Check Diallo, who spent some time with Phoenix and Detroit, I believe. 6'8", so maybe they can turn him into another one of those switchy defender types that they love. Who knows? I obviously know the name, but not much about him. And then, of course, RJ Hampton, who had a lot of talent, at least coming into. Well, he didn't go to college. I think he played overseas, but he had a lot of talent as a young guy. Wasn't really. He was actually drafted to Denver, who was obviously a winning team, so they didn't rely on the young guys as much. So maybe he has a lot of talent inside him that is just ready to be burst out onto the scene, and the Heat can get that out of him. Who knows? So I still believe that the Heat have 2 open roster spots, like for the official 15-man roster after all of this. So they still got some room to add some remaining free agents to try to improve the roster because I like the team. It's obviously very similar to last year, minus Strus and Gabe, adding in Richardson and Thomas Bryant and the young kids. So I don't think they'll be terrible. I don't think they'll miss the playoffs like a lot of crazy people are saying, but we'll see what happens because they got to do something. If it's not Jrue Holiday, maybe it's Buddy Hield, and we can get a video out about that later on. But that's all I got for this video. Maybe we'll have a couple more Dame stuff, Dame news, fallout from the whole situation. Maybe we'll have some videos about that on this channel within the next week. But after that, it's really the end of an era. So I thank you, Damian Lillard, for unintentionally giving me exponential growth on this channel, as it's been what we've talked about 90% of the time for the last 88 days now. Of course, we got over 2,000 subs, hundreds of thousands of views. We got monetized over here, and that's because of y'all. So I appreciate the support. The grind is not stopping, though. The content is going to keep going on the up and up. We got all kind of skits and commentary videos and podcasts and songs. We keep it creative over here. If you think you're going to be into that sort of thing, make sure to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoy. Other than that, I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch, don't offend me.